Well, if you're ever going to take a risk, game one of a best of three is a relatively safe area to do so, just because you have some extra time, but we'll have to see just how risky they want to get as 5RAT. One last ban on the middle lane. They'll take the puck out here to close things, so still just trying to set themselves up on that front. And honestly, well, actually, I was going to say, you can feel relatively safe because the sniper is probably going to be in Tomato's hands. However, that is leaving the pool absolutely wide open for Saberlight, which does not feel like a smart idea, but against this TSM lineup, ET, you're not going to be able to shut everybody down. You just got to pick your poison.
No, definitely. And one of the drawbacks of first phasing their mid laner, and you get the Pango. So, of course, draws benefits, but we'll have to see. And then they go for Treant.
Hmm.
Okay. Simple. 5, a hero that is vastly kind of valued across the board. Some SA5 players will pick it every single game it's available to them, and then they get the respect ban out first phase. And other teams don't play it at all. They're still in CM Jakiroville, and that's where I think for 5RAT, well, is just going to be Jakiro. It might just be Jakiro.
Yeah.
And it is Jakiro, because AV1, he knows what he's about, and it looks pretty great still as well. Of course, they don't get to see their offlaner here, and this might allow for TSM to go for, let's say, the Legion Commander that Saberlight absolutely loves, but also has proven to be valued versus the Jakiro. Could just be his easy option, but again, we'll have to see. But does give Saberlight certainly every opportunity to counterpick here. And this is where 5RAT should probably just pick their 4, so at least their carry has some sort of safety net. Even though, if they want to, they could slam and just say, get a hero to get on Sniper. But no, they keep us guessing. They get Dark Will, just basic, really strong 4 position in the meta, and of course, got a little bit of a buff in 32D.
Yeah, little bit, right? But even the smallest buffs make a hero a little bit better. We saw some small nerfs kind of blow Marcy out of the meta as well, so doesn't take too much to change things, although that thought process does not apply to Bloodstone. That change was still almost completely irrelevant, but, nobody bats 1,000. You miss on some of those changes, but we'll see now what TSM look for with their final pick of Phase 2. Got to be a core option for them, and they will take the Primal Beast here, so ET, it feels like we've sort of put up a wall and teams kind of fall on either side of it with regards to the Primal Beast, because some teams are still picking it up, still liking it. Other teams have completely left it by the wayside.
Yeah, and again, a hero that TSM are the only ones kind of ballsy enough to pick it up, but also one that was changed in 32D to maybe work to make a little bit more sense. Because now, if you stun him in the charge, he gets knocked out of it. And of course, TSM in the past have played this on both Brile and Saberlight, so up until last pick, TSM do have that wiggle room. It's why 5RAT lead with the Razor, and we'll talk about Razor probably a little bit more today as teams decide to pick it up, but that's where Primal Beast maybe feels a shred more balanced. And I think the reason they really pick it up here is with those hard stuns, you're not going to feel that change maybe instantly, where the Primal Beast isn't going to get really caught by too many of those abilities because, well, most of them are ground targeted at this point. So he feels like that change isn't going to affect him that much. And again, keeping the flexibility for last pick because Brile and Saberlight both play the hero. So it just ends up feeling very nice.
Yeah, maintain a little bit of that flexibility into the final phase of picks. Never a bad idea, because now 5RAT, we'll see if they split the bans or if they just sort of move in one direction. No, they do decide to split the Razor first, then the Enigma ban after, and, well, it's still concerning, right? Marcy may not have been, or may not be quite as strong as she was in the past, but if you pair her up with the Enigma in that lane, that's still a lane that very few carries are going to want to have to deal with.
Yeah, and now the new question, what is DNM gonna want to play? Really, all of his heroes kind of taken out at this stage, at least the ones that he's played in the tournament thus far. This is also where you do have to make a little bit of a call here. Is the hero left in the pool what we draft against, or do we keep the possibility of having a lane versus the primal? Kind of a fear in the back of our mind. Not to mention, we still need an answer for that sniper. And we'll see, and they just simply go for the Lifestealer. So again, the easy answer, and that's a very quick pick of the NP,
Okay.
because that's your direct counter pick. Now, Brile takes the Primal Beast, and Saberlight has a really free lane. And one of the reasons why I was really hesitating to call out that Lifestealer pick, because they always had this flexibility. This is what TSM were pretty much waiting for. And now you not only are unable to close the distance between your carries in the sniper matchup. But now that lane's going to be real difficult for DNM, a lane that honestly just needs to be carried by AB1.
Yeah.
The Jakiro has to do everything there, and then hopefully you don't find yourselves getting gone on by Ari. But I don't know. That's a lane with so much harassment and so much chip damage. It just is always going to be on 5RAT.
As you say, AB1's going to have to be on point with all of his DOT, just try and take some of that pressure off, because DNM is almost certainly just going to focus as much as he can on his last hitting. Doesn't really seem to have too much aggressive potential against MP Marcy, so may not be a fun time for them, but they'll just have to power through it. But ET, looking at maybe the mid matchup, Pango versus Primal Beast, do you think that favors Kits or Bryle in this instance?
I think as soon as they get 6, definitely favors Bryle, just because in regards to his cooldowns, Primal Beast still just picks you up and slams you, harasses you, does 400 HP, and then walks away. But for the rest of the lane, the rest of Pango's abilities, I think, are just a little bit higher value. Just because, of course, in the 1v1, you have the slow, you've got 2 escapes. Bryle has to be absolutely on point with his spells, otherwise you miss a trample, and then you're on the back burner for 20 seconds. So definitely a lane that I think Kits has some wiggle room and room to outplay, but it's still a tall order. And then once the lanes break down, 5RAT need to come instantly when that Primal Beast stops showing, because Bryle is off the map for 20 seconds. That part of Primal Beast still hasn't changed. He stopped showing, you hear the charge, you're dead. That part is still very much there for the Beast.
By the time you realize he's coming after you, it may already be too late. So, oh, here we go. First match of the playoffs underway. 5RATFORCESTAFF versus TSM. Do want to remind you folks, this is a best of 3 now. We've put the best of 2s behind us in terms of our formatting, but this is upper bracket. So no elimination going to be on the line here for these first 2 days, but, well, we've seen lower bracket runs, but none of these teams prefer it over just staying in the upper bracket as long as possible. So see how this goes. We'll see what kind of impact Ari has on his new team, and well, like I said before, he is in for a test, right? Still got to prove the strength of the Marcy, but as we were also mentioning in the draft, it's a pretty solid setup for him to have an impact. Although Moon, where are you going? That's a little bit too far forward. Did not anticipate 4 heroes being right on his ass from the very start, ET, and yeah, he's gone.
We'll see, because, well, speaking of Moon, he's got the coach position, the honeymoon phase, where, win a tournament right before you get slotted back into that coach position, the last opportunity to be a true player, but that's not the way he wanted to start. But it's okay. He was scouting, he was protecting his small camp, doing his dues, but now we should probably see the 2-2 split play out here, even though Bryle is kind of set up to brawl here. If he starts taking too much damage, though, he should just disengage off the rune, but 5RAT definitely have to make sure they get 2.
Up to the north, DNM was waiting just in case, but doesn't really want to trade out damage against Saberlight, so it is just going to be a 2-2 split, and we'll get the laning stage underway with, well, no funny business after the first blood attempt.
And now the lanes, pretty standard stuff. Tomato should have a very free lane. It's where the sniper is just extremely solid, so we'll have to see. Definitely going to go for the shrapnel build, in which case, of course, you can always fight for denies, and Speed's got a pretty darn good hero at fighting for those denies, but it's almost impossible to lose the lane with the sniper hero. That's why they first phased it. It actually goes for a headshot, okay? Wants to harass instead, and certainly Moon Meander is going to make that a lot easier, but gotta be careful about those denies.
Yeah, I think that's maybe a little bit of an indicator there. You take the headshot, that means that Moon is going to try to play forward. Otherwise, Tomato would just go all in on the farming build. So, why not get a little harassment? Try to get speed off your back that way, and well, it's also because Tomato's got the old spaceman set here, so it just sounds a little bit cooler as well. That obviously had zero bearing on his decision-making process, but I like to believe that it did.
AB1 just takes so much damage, just gets disposed. The disposed level 1. Something you would not see in the previous patch ever, because it was just a grief, but this time around, just puts him in front of the treants, just takes so much damage, and again, with a little bit of body blocks, this is the lane that DNM literally can't do anything about. He is just going to have to soak up, eat the pain, Hope he gets a Helm of Iron Will or a Chainmail sooner than later, but he's just hoping he can get as many last hits as possible because it doesn't get easier.
The arms are still very, very long on the Marcy, even if the rebound and the sidekick are a little bit less impressive. So, kill potential, probably not onto DNM, but I mean, you saw from that play, right? Between the right clicks and the body blocks. He got like half of his health, forced out his regen, so it's a play that DNM will certainly have to show respect to, even if it may not kill him off outright.
Now we're talking.
In the meantime, how we doing mid here? Bottles on each mid laner. Kits, with the first blood bonus, did technically get his a little bit earlier, but Ryle is still able to keep pace at this point, and
My
well,
keyboard is not.
I don't know. In terms of the last hits, there is a slight edge for Kits here, but will he be able to maintain it long term, I suppose, is the question.
Well, and Brow's got a few more creeps he still has to kill, so he'll eventually close that gap up. But Kits is doing a pretty fine job here, even though it does have to be careful about this. Whenever he knows that his spell's committed, and nice little trade there with the trample, just knowing that Kits didn't have actual mana for either of his escapes, but as the Pango's spells do more damage, as we usually see, it's almost impossible to lose lane with Pango. Always ends up being a draw. I think definitely Kits playing with the level advantage is going to make this lane seem a whole lot easier. Even though we should probably see rotations from the fours pretty soon, in which case we could see a mid laner get forced back to base, but not a rotation made just yet. It's top again. The toss back. AB1 ends up eating more damage, but if it's on AB1, as we usually say, at least it's harassment that isn't landing onto your carry, so a little bit of a freebie for DNM, because now his wave is going to push in very nicely.
Yep. Lifestealer gets a little bit of a benefit there, and I don't know. You're probably going to need the Sprout to get that sort of follow-up lockdown, because AB1, well, he was mostly just able to walk away after that Dispose sort of pulls him back, so for now, it's just about harassment. Ari's doing a spectacular job of that, and I mean, the Nature's Prophet is farming well. All of the cores on TSM, for that matter, are farming well. You see them at the top of the chart here on the left, so really not too much to complain about for them. That first blood play was unfortunate, but just a bump in the road so far.
No, definitely. Just keeping very stable, and it will be interesting to see how these teams go against each other once the mid-game phase begins, because, again, laning-wise, 5RAT's been good in the tournament so far, but they are a very even team, and TSM played just as hard in the lanes, so it should end up being, honestly, a pretty close early game, even though, as of right now, we're really just waiting for those levels, and, okay, top, Saberlight does survive, but is forced back to base at the very least. Unfortunately, though, of course, he will just be able to TP back, but this is that important moment. Ryle just went for the bounty rune, is now in the top lane, should eventually wander back mid, but those danger moments, and then they get a kill bottom.
Moon, very low on HP there, but he was able to get in there and help set up for that kill. I say set up for, actually, he's the one who grabbed it. So, Tomato doesn't get the last hit, but TSM still get their first kill of the game on the board. Saberlight returns to the top lane after that TP away, and maybe not quite the way that they wanted it set up with Brawl making that rotation, but they do find a kill across the map.
Yeah, and still happy, still satisfied with where things stand. We're in for one of those slow burn early games. Once Saberlight has Wrath of Nature and both mid laners get their ultimates, we should see those rotations, and then yeah, whenever those creep waves are just a little bit too far forward, either carry really needs to be very conscious of what the map is saying, but until then, everybody is last hitting really great. Net worth wise, all the cores standing pretty even. Kits just being maybe a little bit further ahead and Speed a little bit further behind, but otherwise we're in quite a few draws.
That's a bit unfortunate. Tomato ends up losing his courier there as Moose was able to snipe it out, so back up in a minute. I guess not the worst loss in the world, but those items will be just that little bit more delayed as we see rotations towards the middle lane. Rune spawning is going to be Illusion Rune to the south. Moose is just sort of watching over it, but Ari wanted to contest it, and technically speaking, I think that rebound did hit, but didn't really matter. But now that they know, well, your support rotated, which means Speed has to be alone here, and Saberlight, I like that play. Sprouts up for the block rather than the trap, just to make sure Speed doesn't get back to the tower, and TSM find another kill. Unfortunately, it's another kill for Moon Meander, so he has now yoinked both of the first two, but it's still a solid play.
Yeah, and then Moose cancels Saberlight's TP. So now Saberlight's kind of stuck without a job for 35 seconds. He would
Mhm.
love to be top right now, but this is now freed up DNM for maybe 3, 4 creep waves of free farming. And you already see Ari having to just deal with the hand he's been dealt and goes for the creep cut because, well, what's he going to do? Lane versus Lifestealer? That doesn't work. And then in mid lane, they get a kill. The Jakiro rotates over, and with enough damage and the Great Rolling Thunder from Kits, well, 5RAT are finding their advantages.
Now Saberlight's got something to do. Rotates over mid with Braille dead, and we'll try to just grab some experience, defend the tower. The creep wave wasn't really cooperating for 5RAT, so they don't get much damage onto the tower anyway, but does give him something to do. Now his TP's back on cooldown, so if they want to just rotate back into their original setup, they can do that. Bryle, though, decides not to make that call. Instead, he TP'd bot, but as you point out, ET, yeah, there's a ward that's scouting this out, so this is the least subtle play we have seen so far in this game, and now this is just time being wasted. Bryle's going to make his way back towards mid, but yeah, I'm not really sure. Maybe he was looking for some sort of charge play there, but the ward just breaks it all up.
Let's see. Battle for the 8-minute, and the 8-minute will go in Kits' bottle. Okay. Bryle just didn't preemptively charge, just knowing that, well, he kind of had to make a difficult choice there. He either tries to stun the Pango and then stops short, or doesn't get the bottle regardless, but still an unfortunate circumstance. And again, a little bit of that net worth just going in Kits' favor because he's the one staying in the lane. He's not the one over-rotating. Now it's his turn to actually show bottom, though, and get scouted out, so he'll give up on that play pretty darn quick, but then the pressure will be shown elsewhere.
There's a lot of heroes walking bot for not a lot of fighting, but it is what it is. They don't know the wards are up just yet. In the meantime, Bryle is able to get a couple of hits on mid here with only AB1 to protect it, but back down bot with the way that they're posturing ET, they're thinking about taking a fight at this stage. Trying to position themselves to dive this tower still would not be an easy kill even with the numbers advantage, and they do back off of it. But over in mid, Bryle's going to try to make a move. They're going to jump in onto the Jakiro. He did charge into an ice path, which buys time for the reinforcements to get in here. AB1 not dead yet, and Kits is actually looking for the kill. Bryle stunned up by the Curse Crown. Rolling Thunder is not hitting him, though, and the Swashbuckle actually won't hit either. Oof. Not used to seeing that many misses out of Kits, but he is still going to try. Swashbuckle's back up. Bryle, okay. Recognize the threat, charges away. Kits decides it's just Swashbuckle for creeps instead, and, well, no kill.
Yeah, and very fortunate they didn't lose their Jakiro there, because otherwise I think they would have been maybe a little bit more angry that Kits whiffed his spells there, but a little bit anxious, just not being patient enough, doesn't go for a long enough wrap, and now Ari, oh, that's a little bit crazy, but he's got the HP to work with. It's going to get a little bit tight now, though, and yep, with the TPs back in, Kits is going to lose his life. Saberlight's there just in case, and they do lose track of the Jakiro, but at the same time, you got your core kill.
Yep, they find the big pickoff onto the Pango, so AB1, they'll let him go. Didn't really do much looking for him after the fact, and now Saberlight, he's directly onto the tower, got the armor reduction here, and, well, AB1 returns to the lane, immediately gets hit by the Dispos, but he is fighting quite nicely, and even DNM gets in here, drops the Infest, so AB1 will live. Ari's the one to go down, and Bryle, he won't be caught. We are far too early in the game for any sort of open wounds play, because he doesn't have the shard up, and they are still looking their way mid. Saberlight is not the fastest in the world, even with his power treads. They are going to be able to run him down here. No, they're not. Moon drops the overgrowth. Saberlight somehow still alive. Can DNM track him through the trees? No, he cannot. No. Saberlight lives. AB1 gets taken down. Bryle now charges in, gets the pulverize onto the Lifestealer. DNM's got to run for his life, but he's not going to make it out. Rebound from Ari gets the job done. 5RAT, I mean, that was looking very clean for them at the start, but it all just falls apart.
Oh, they just overextend a little bit too far. Now they're losing their mid tower. They just lose track of the runes. They go way too deep, and then they over-rotate their Lifestealer, who was so happy in the top lane. He got his 2 armor items, and then, of course, Saberlight over-rotating himself. It's a lane that the NP can't really go back to and put on that same level of pressure, has now effectively given away a lot of that momentum. And now you look at 5RAT and say, well, the next thing they play for is just going to be Speed's game. And that's great. Speed's doing a good job, but it's where Tomato is just going to continue to hold the tower, nuke out. It's where they still don't have a great way to find that collapse onto the sniper unless Kits finds a probable smoke into a Rolling Thunder. But now that mid tower is blown wide open, it has to be a smoke. Otherwise, it becomes way too obvious when those creeps push across the river.
And now, I mean, the tier 1 tower was taken already. They're applying pressure to the tier 1 top too, so you are correct. You know, Speed is playing that lane relatively well, but the delay tactics are really starting to turn against him, because now even if he does get the tier 1, you're still behind in terms of the tower trade-off, so it is just a rough time for him. They are at least going to be able to get some kills here under that tier 1. They do take down both Tomato and Moon, but the response is going to come in. Ryle with the Pulverize, the rebound from Ari is going to stun up both again. They instantly lose 2. They might just lose the Dom Helm creep here too, which it's not the highest gold bounty in the world, but it's extra money into your pocket, and though it costs them Tomato +1, they do once again stop the push on this tower.
Yep, just defending their buildings, and feels real nice for Bryle. He's starting to really snowball on that Primal Beast, getting closer and closer towards that BKB, in which case, well, you gotta roar him, and you hope that he hasn't found your Beastmaster already. Otherwise, it's probably a team fight blown wide open. This is a little bit crazy, but he's got a, Illusion Rune. Very niche instance, and yeah, with the Wrath of Nature, just dies. But Bryle did get caught by the Bramble. This could be bad for him.
Yeah, Ice Path is going to be off the mark, and Kits, he already used pretty much everything here, so he has to back it off. Ari may get punished, though. Yeah, kind of on the other side of that tree line, so he's not going to be able to walk it out. They do get the kill into D&M's hands, but overall, that's just going to be a support for support trade, and yeah, Bryle, it works out for him this time, but maybe pump the brakes a little bit on that aggression, because he did go a little bit far.
Yeah, and is able to walk it out, so, no harm, no foul is probably what you say there, but finally, 5RAT with the rotation, they get the bottom tower, at a trade that TSM are very comfortable with, though. Tomato's already rotated very far into the jungle. He's going to start farming, stacking for himself, becoming that sniper we all know and all hate.
Yeah, he is off to a pretty solid start here outside of just that one death, but he'll recover from it relatively quickly here. The question now, if you're 5RAT, is what do you now do? You have taken the bottom lane, you push the sniper away, that's great. A lot of the time we see these Beastmasters kind of stick around for the Helm of the Overlord first before they start rotating, but see, I'm not really sure Speed can afford to do that in this current climate, because they still have a bit of a gap that they need to that they need to make up for. As Ari had the Curse Crown on him, rebounded onto a teammate, which did stun up Saberlight, but it's not going to matter. Bryle still charges in. Pulverize onto moves will get the kill, but Ari just wanted to share the Curse Crown with a teammate. No big deal.
Yeah, and during all that, they get the mid tower, just through virtue of the chip, and then having those bestial creeps there, as they are setting up, though. And AB1, he's trying to trade his life for Moon, but that's not going to work out. And then the Orchid reveal onto Kits. You couldn't ask for a better circumstance, because Saberlight just gets his kill. They get their core, a situation in which Kits was not expecting to die in the slightest, but Invis Rune on the Primal as well. Just no way for him to survive.
Yep. Just waiting for their moment to strike, and, well, we know what kind of Nature's Prophet Saberlight's going to want to be in this game now, right? He's got the Orchid, he's got the crit stick. We're not going to see quite as much of a focus on the utility split push build. He is out to kill. And he is looking for a fight up top. TP'd into the trees there, so having had to take him around them to kind of get in, and that does cost him his opportunity. Now it may cost him his life. Moose and Kits are trying to set up onto him. Going to be able to get him up with the Fear from the Terrorize, and yeah. Missing on the TP, not able to get his initial fight ET. That's probably your cue to leave. He tries to stick around a little bit longer, and the greed will kill him.
No, definitely, and that's where, of course, with the NP, it's not just the Orchid timing, but the BKB timing is right up there. It's where having that is going to be TSM's next real team play, because, well, the Primal Beast just finished his. Kills really deaths across the board. Everyone does get actually taken down, but Primal Beast barely survives in that bottom lane, but with his BKB online now, again, the only thing he has to be scared of, really, is that Primal Roar. But even then, it's just to stop him. It's not damage. It's not where he's going to get bursted in his own BKB, really, in this game.
I'm going to go for a smoke here. It's Bryle and the two supports. Tomato not really getting involved here, and honestly, this may work to their advantage. The Hawk just flew over and sees the sniper farming, so they may not anticipate this smoke gank, although, well, Ari just kind of walks straight up the ramp. That's going to kind of let the cat out of the bag. Ari does get taken down, but Bryle is in onto speed. That's the problem. You use the roar onto one target. Bryle just sees a clear path in. No BKB needed. They take down both speed and moves for the cost of just the one support.
Yeah, and that's where now you got to be even more careful playing that top side of the map if you're 5RAT, because those kills, sure, this time around, got a little bit lucky. TSM didn't want to swing immediately for it, but with the Nature's Prophet, eventually Roshan is going to be that objective that TSM are going to look to swing kills into, and if you die on that top side, it's just feeding them for free, basically. So you've got to be so careful going forward here. They still got to make plays with kits, though. They've got to use this Pango as much as they can, especially before Saberlight's able to finish off that BKB. The Nature's Prophet can't really show in too many of these areas, but here we go. They're going to brute force it. They just wait for it, and now it's up to 5RAT to get any vision or any idea this is going down, but this is so early that I don't think they're going to scout it out in time.
They are just getting into the pit. Maybe not the fastest attempt in the world, but they're gonna get it. There's no resistance here. There's no contest whatsoever, so they can be as slow as they like. Tomato, well, he's got 2 lives now. Maybe we see him get a little bit more involved in some of these engagements, because he has started to build up some nice damage. As AB1, that's not where you want to be. Gonna get silenced up, taking the damage. Burn might just finish him off here. Yeah. Quick and easy kill for Saberlight.
Yeah, he keeps finding them, keeps accelerating himself towards that BKB, in which case he's going to be another problem, because, well, the more BKBs they get on TSM, there's only ever going to be one roar, and then another smoke with the rest of the lineup looking for Moose. Ari's not going to connect, and, yep, should just try to walk away, but Moose is staying for the kill.
Yeah, he's a greedy boy, and he's going to get it. Okay. Well played, Moose. It is still going to cost him his life, but at least he made a trade. But this is where the problems start. The overgrowth is going to catch out kits. DNM, though's coming over, too. They really do want an engagement, and they're on to Saberlight. Ice Path comes in, going to stun him up. Nature's Prophet taken down, and all of a sudden, you look to the rest of TSM. They need help. Here comes Bryle, though. In with the charge into that Pulverize, trying to get DNM. They've got the damage for the kill. Tomato, meanwhile, takes the 1v1 against Speed. He will win that engagement, but now they want more. Assassinate, targeting AB1. Not enough to finish him off just yet. They've got him in the trees. There's going to be the charge. Bryle makes the connection, and, well, Moose's decision honestly makes a little bit of sense. He trades himself out, right? But everything beyond that gets a little bit too ambitious from 5RAT.
Yeah, and then Speed's probably disgusted with himself right now. It was just way too early for the sniper to find him. There's just no way for him to actually get on top of Tomato, so he just has to walk up and die in probably the most frustrating way you can die in Dota. And then Bryle just uses his BKB to maximum efficiency. Just is never under threat now. Okay, TP's out of mid, but that's the pace that TSM are setting. Every single time any hero on 5RAT is trying to get their little split push plays going, it's 2 heroes collapse upon, Saberlight +2, and then suddenly you're getting forced back into the base. And sure, the Pango's still finding farm. Kits has got a life store inside of him as well, so they're going to look for a fight, but they have to connect here. And again, they have to look for Saberlight. He's the abusable core right now. They might try into sniper, but okay. Find Saberlight too.
Twice, though. First life taken. They're going to set up the ice path. The Terrorize even coming in, but Bryle, he's looking to get on the back line. They're going to sacrifice the sniper for now, trying to find some sort of kill, but they're not getting it just yet. Tomato gets taken down, but DNM's stuck in the middle of this. He's trying to toggle his armlet ET, but there's only so much toggling you can do in the face of that much damage. DNM will fall. Moon Meander, though, sniped out by the Axis, so Speed will be able to get one more kill on the board for them, but they're getting split up too far. Kits all by himself off to the right. They are going to be able to finish him off. And now do they collapse back onto the main engagement? Saberlight's pushing forward like he wants it, but he is taking a hell of a lot of damage here. That does not work. You end up having Moose inside of the trees with you, so Saberlight will still go down. Now Ari is going to be the focus. He's rooted up. He's taken the damage. And Speed gets the kill while Bryle TPs away. So TSM, well, now it's their turn to try for a little bit too much there. I thought 5RAT were maybe making the wrong call splitting up that much ET, but honestly, it works out pretty damn well for them.
Yeah, and it's a pretty well orchestrated fight for TSM, just with the way their stuns and their silences were landing. And Sure, you still could kill kits at the end of the day there, but then you get to see the value in why 5RAT puts so much into this Jakiro, because in the way they kill that Aegis, well, Tomato doesn't have a BKB. There's no way for him to get out of that ice path on his res. They abuse that fact. It's something they do so well with the Jakiro, and because of that, Tomato can't play. And because Tomato can't play, Speed can play. And then the Beastmaster ends up doing 5,000 damage in the fight off of Wild Axes alone, and TSM doesn't get enough done with the Primal Beast BKB. Now, Brow has a Blink Dagger, so maybe that changes the game just ever so slightly for him, but that's where first item BKB, Brow is going to find his window closing more and more as the game goes on, and it's where 5RAT will find a little bit more strength to play around with.
Fights like that really kind of shifting the window that 5RAT can play in, so... Well, we'll see how the next fight plays out. Bryle is working his way towards the Kaya Sanj here, so recognizing that maybe he needs to have a little bit more of an impact here, both in terms of durability and damage, but he's got a little ways to go to farm that up. That's not exactly an imminent purchase as Speed. Yeah, that's not where you want to be. Bryle blinks in. There's the Pulverize. That's about as easy a kill as they're going to get. 4-on-1 for the pickoff and Speed. Well, maybe we could take a guess that there's some vision up on that eye spot.
Yeah, it's one of those deaths that just happens maybe a smidge too quick. They were just a little bit too aware of what was happening, but... Well, they get their tier 2 mid. This is going to result in another team fight, though. They're looking for the sniper again.
There's the jump in. Force Staff, keeping him away for now, but... Oh, this fight is starting to split up, and on the other side, yeah, Saberlight and Ari just go straight in onto AB1, and... Yeah, Kits and DNM don't really want to be here anymore. They're going to try and back away, but Saberlight, aggressive TP forward. Wrath of Nature does hit onto Kits, so they're going to try and give it a go. Ari, pushing forward with the Unleash active, and yeah, DNM may get away, but they got the kill that they wanted. Bryle, okay. That was just for the creeps. I thought for a moment he was trying to push all the way in for any kill attempt, but it's not going to happen. But with Kits off the board, ET... I mean, that's it. He really has been their only way to initiate these larger engagements. And he's not available.
Yeah, and just, you couldn't ask for a worse place for them to fight. There's nothing to bounce off of. It's just the mid-wave before it goes a little bit better just because they've got so many cliffs to bounce off of, but it just felt like 5RAT were trying something that maybe on paper looked like a better play, but also just a fight completely dispelled by the threat of overgrowth and a single Force Staff. That can't be enough for 5RAT to just immediately give up. Just feels kind of ugly from them, but okay. Gets the BKB out of Bryle, forces him away. Moose has been playing fantastically. He's just always been in the right place at the right time, getting so many spells up in fights. I don't think we've seen a team fight where he hasn't got off at least 2, I hazard to say maybe even 3 brambles with how long these engagements have gone.
He has been playing, as you said, pretty spectacularly, and playing up to basically the maximum impact that a Dark Willow can have, which is part of the problem, because there's only so much she can do at a certain point as Saberlight. That TP did not complete in time, so he does get taken down, and now they've got the sniper in the river. Rolling Thunder's going to hit him up a couple of times. Moon is forced to pop the Overgrowth. That should get Tomato away, but it will come at the cost of the Treant Protector's life, and now they are looking at Ari as well. Don't know if they're going to be able to catch up. Marcy might be able to get in the tree line and just go for the TP home, and they're not going to chase any further than that. But honestly, that's a pretty big setup there just to get the kill onto Saberlight. Okay. They'll lose one on the back end with Moose getting picked off, but they're going to be okay with that trade-off.
Yeah.
Well, okay, maybe not
Ari,
that one.
Yeah, just the solo plays, and without a basher on Kits, Ari just gets the TP out. He knows there's very few stuns on 5RAT, but the entire reason that fight goes so well for 5RAT is Saberlight thinks he's a little bit too invulnerable with his BKB, where he just gets roared, ends up taking way too much physical damage, Kits drops off DNM to get that kill, you know, just an overextension from him pretty much solely there, and the rest of his team kind of dies as a result. But as long as the sniper's getting out, then really all too much doesn't matter, because Tomato knows when, you know, the team fight's done, okay, my guy fed, I'm going to go move on. Tomato's a good enough carry with enough experience to know when he's lost.
They did just get some vision on him with the Hawk. Now, the Hawk doesn't really matter because Tomato just comes in and clears out a creep wave. But they know the sniper's location. We'll see if they try to maybe set up in that direction because they do have all their abilities up. It's just... I don't know. 5RAT. The initiations that they have actually chosen to go for, ET, have been wildly varied in terms of the actual execution, so you do want to see them try and get aggressive, you just want them to actually see the execution solid enough to get something out of it.
Yeah, and that's where another infest back into Kits, and Kits with the Lotus Orb now isn't going to have to worry about that overgrowth in the team fights. Still has to worry about, not getting enough shield crashes to survive through the sniper, but this is where, again, they would love to get into this pit, but a combination of a slightly early timer and, again, their lack of vision just gives TSM the opportunity. Just they have way too much real estate. Now, onto the Pango. Oh no.
Kits is low. DNM pops out to try and help out in some way, but it's not enough. Kits will fall. That overgrowth was questionable, but I mean, they got the main kill. Kits is taken down. The question is, what can they do off the back of this? Their creep wave is pushing down bot, so looks like that's the direction they're going to head in. Try to get some damage onto that tier 2. Although with DNM here, he's going to try to mount a defense, but I don't really know if he actually wants to be there, especially not by himself. And once Bryle charges in, that's DNM's cue to leave.
Just isn't much to do in that situation, and now with Aegis Sniper, this should just be your last tier 2 getting cleaned up. You already have Saberlight as well looking on the other side of the map for slight picks. He doesn't have BKB, so he actually should probably just farm the triangle, but we'll see. Saberlight's made worse decisions in the past, but this is where I think TSM have a real free window. The remnants of this Aegis really should just mean that 5RAT look to dodge pretty much any fight. There's just no way for them to win at this stage. Until that Aegis is gone, maybe then they can go for the blow-up play, but this time around as well, Tomato has a BKB, so that jump gets even less reliable.
Bryle is a little bit further forward than he might like here, but he's got the BKB. Pops it, walks away, regroups with his team, and well, that was an interesting scenario. Now you've got basically the entirety of 5RATFORCESTAFF up in this top lane, so if TSM want to fight, they can go in that direction. If they want to push, they could just go somewhere else, because the creep wave got all the way up to the tier 3, but Tomato chooses not to push in for that damage. Instead, they're kind of holding in this north side jungle, ET. I don't really know what they can do here. Tomato is standing directly on top of a ward, so he's not all that sneaky, and 5RAT have to know something is up now.
Ooh, and then Ari. Okay. Gotta run now, because everybody else is collapsing here. A great Yule's on Bryle, but I don't know if you still want this fight.
Well, here comes Saberlight. BKB active. Tomato getting involved as well, but DNM is going to try to push onto the overgrowth, though. Actually locks him down, so Tomato's not going to get taken down immediately, but he is still... Oh my god. He is still dropping Concussive Grenade into Force-Staff, just kind of pinballs him around the fight. Now, honestly, that works to his advantage. There's no way anyone on 5RAT could have stayed on him with that much movement, and Saberlight cleans up a double kill on the back line. They take the win. Now they finally get that push onto the objectives that they wanted.
Yeah, and maybe indicative of how far 5RAT kind of are behind at this stage, but they end up being the winners. They get gold out of just that kill. That's unfortunate, though. Moose just sticks around for a second too long, but then you also see the other issue kind of dispelling in front of us here for 5RAT, which is, well, if they always pop their BKBs whenever Rolling Thunder comes out, well, we've got a 20-second window for kids to have a Rolling Thunder when they don't have BKB, and 5RAT just can't find that slim timing, because it's an almost impossible timing to hit. And sure, DNM can fight when he starts on the sniper, it's why he has the BKB build, but unless that happens, there's just nothing else to do. And sure, 5RAT, they've got great high ground, they've got the Lucky Shot disarm, they've got the Ice Pass to throw out, but we're just playing a waiting game for when Bryle feels comfortable enough to kill these supports in AB1. Oh, I'm scared for you. Oh, it's all just Bryle, just on that cusp of the vision, and there you go.
They hit the jump, the right clicks come in, AB1 dead. He does have buyback, but will they go for a fight here in the first place? They just popped their glyph. It will be refreshed once the tier 3 goes down, but I don't know. They need the perfect initiation at this point, and it can't be onto Tomato because he's got Aegis, but he's the only one on the front line. Everyone just setting up the sort of circle around him as Bryle gave it an attempt. Not going to be able to find anything, but that just means they get back onto the objectives.
Yeah, and there's really no fight that they should go for either, because they need AB1. He can still Ice Path out of that Aegis. It's where if they get Tomato the first time around, Ice Path on the second life, you can't BKB that, but without him, I don't know what else there's to do. They do see the NP bottom, though, so trying to get that fight, but Ari has BKB, gotta keep the chain stun going.
They do get the fear down. And Ari is going to fall, but Bryle's now into the fight. The trample into the pulverize, connecting onto speed. They're going to try and lock him down. They do find that kill, and now all of a sudden, Kits, he's by himself. DNM just bailed out while he had the chance, and well, he may not make it all the way home. Tomato is sort of putting some shots into him, but it looks like he is going to be able to fall back. The Aegis does now expire, but that's not really much of a help, ET. 5RAT are down two very important heroes, two essential heroes to mount a defense here, so this could very well be Megas. Or maybe just the game. Hold on.
They're looking for it. And Saberlight, well, okay, Moose is just a Chad. Oh my god, 1664 gold. Okay, not what you expected. And Moose does have buyback now, but okay, the chaos continues. Saberlight throwing them a bone, in all honesty, and now, I don't know, TSM, Tomato certainly feels like he can stick around here, but a little messy. And Moose does eventually die, but oh, Smoke gets speed on top of the sniper. Is this where TSM stick themselves out a little bit too thin? I mean, the rest of their lineup is still ridiculously strong, but I mean, this is just too funny.
Well, they have hope, I suppose, although with Bralo jumping in, that's going to make it a little bit more complicated. There's AB1 getting taken down, but as we said before, he has buyback. They're trying to hit up Bryle. His BKB's still down for 8 seconds, but they're going to be able to force staff him out of there. They'll get the living armor onto him. All the while, Tomato just hits towers. Time is ticking. Running out of opportunities here for 5RAT. They would love to be at full strength before they go back in, and at the rate Tomato's taking this tower, I do believe they are going to get at least moves back in here, but the Jakiro may have to buy back. They are going to pop the glyph. Buying more time, but I don't know. ET, it's all or nothing at this point. They need everybody in, and they can't afford to lose the fight any longer, but by the time the Jakiro's up, the Ancient's been exposed, dropping down. They're going to jump in a little bit early, so the Jakiro buyback doesn't come through. He's not respawning just yet, but Tomato is low on HP, but now the Satanic comes out. He's going to start to heal up. Speed tries to come in, drops down the Roar, but they're splitting their focus on these targets. They have to take them down, and they're not getting it. Tomato is still fighting. Concussive Grenade pushing him away. The DOT eventually will take him down, but by this point, they've just spended too much. They've lost the cores. The buybacks aren't available on DNM or Kits, and I don't know if they can do this with what they have left. Speed is really the highest damage option still standing, and yeah, the Ancient has been dropped, and I think the most frustrating aspect of that fight, ET, as TSM will finish things off, is that if they had focused one or two heroes, they had the damage to kill them. It just got too chaotic.
No, and even in that fight, the whole reason TSM maybe get caught a little bit more off guard is because they go consciously without rolling Thunder. It's 20 seconds to the CD. Kits just isn't able to be a Pango in that team fight and tries to do what he can. And DNM honestly wins the man fight, and then with the help of AB1 does end up killing Tomato, but at that point, I think there's just too much net worth. There's just too much time. The cores on TSM are just a little bit too big. But even all the way back, you rewind, this just was a almost uncounterable sniper game from the beginning. 5RAT draft-wise just weren't able to make the changes in time, and I think that comes from the lack of flexibility in their opener, where they pick up, you know, effectively 2 possible offlaners with their heroes, so then Speed's probably going to have to take one of them, and then slotting him into that Pango, it just felt like there was maybe not enough time to make this sniper anything, any target in their minds. And then, of course, getting last pick Natures after they pick up the Lifestealer, which surely was to try and go up versus the Primal Beast, just felt like 5RAT got drafted a little bit into a corner here with DNM's hero pool. And I think that's where coming into game 2, hopefully having last pick, hopefully able to switch up their draft a little bit, maybe it's time for 5RAT to look for those more direct counters. And I think almost assuredly see maybe a little bit more of a shot at that sniper hero. But let's see. Hopefully, we're not even going to have to think about a sniper ban next phase, but this is where those crazy openers heavily benefit the team that just won, because TSM just first phase sniper, and 5RAT couldn't do anything about it. So how does 5RAT look at Game 2's draft? We'll have to see.
Yeah, definitely gives them an edge confidence-wise when you can first phase a hero that really doesn't end up getting punished in the slightest. And then, of course, I mean, Bryle's Primal Beast. You take a look at this stat line, 17, 1, and 13. It's it's a little dumb, especially considering there was a point, ET, where you and I were alluding to the fact that, hey, maybe with this first item BKB, he might slow down a little bit. None of that. He just builds forward, keeps pushing into those fights, and outside of maybe one or two misplays, he was pretty much perfect.
Yeah, and now if you're TSM, imagine if Saberlight didn't die 5 times in this game. Oh, imagine if it was a little bit cleaner. But again, we'll have to see, because I think definitely a blow to 5RAT's confidence with the way that they finished off their group stage. But again, there's still something to play for here.
We are going to be getting into game 2 in just a few minutes here, folks, so we will be stepping away for just a little while. And when we return, we'll see if TSM get that 2-0 sweep or if 5RAT can hold off getting knocked into that lower bracket for at least one more game. So stick around. We'll be right back.